Chlorophyll is a green pigmented molecule that allows plants to absorb the sunlight so it can go through photosynthesis. Chlorophyll has a similar molecular composition just like red blood cells. So that means that the more chlorophyll you take in, potentially the more oxygen and health you're going to gain. The purpose of red blood cells is to absorb oxygen, which is the hemoglobin inside the red blood cell. The more oxygen we can absorb, the healthier we're going to become. Chlorophyll has magnesium as its center atom. Magnesium is a miraculous mineral for the human body. Magnesium keeps our body alkaline. With all the foods that we eat, the processed foods, the fried foods, the wrong foods, it puts our body into an acid environment. Alkalinity is the key to good health. Bacteria, pathogens, viruses cannot survive in an alkaline environment.
A clean colon is the key to good health. This is the Herbal Alternative Research Team, the Heart. Colon or intestinal cancer is forecast by the United Nations to become the #1 killer in developed countries. This dangerous and rarely talked about disease is already #1 or 2 in many countries. It's #2 in the United States. How does it affect you? It's simple. Your immune system is directly related to the condition of your intestines as well as your body's ability to absorb nutrients from food during digestion. Toxemia is the cause of all disease. The United States Health and Human Services has admitted several years ago that over 90% of Americans are walking around with clogged colons. Autotoxemia, auto meaning self-caused, is the real culprit in almost all diseases and degenerative conditions. Dr. John Tilden, during the 1930s, in his book Toxemia Explained, the true interpretation of the cause of disease, presented the concept that toxins were the only cause of disease. If you deal with toxemia now, you won't age anywhere as quickly as you normally would, and you won't go through all the aches, pains, and illnesses that your friends and parents have gone through. Through preventive health habits, you can dramatically reduce the chances of chronic diseases, illness, and cellular degeneration. No quantity or type of prescription drugs, surgery, or other remedial medical care can save you from the self-imposed death sentence of auto-intoxication. Let's talk about the big C, and no, I'm not talking about cancer, at least not yet. The word constipation is derived from the Latin word constipatus, which translated means to press or crowd together, to pack or to cram. Common sense tells us that if we retain the contents of our colon, the result will be disfigurement and disease of the colon. All sick people have bowel trouble. All sick people are tired, worn out, and toxin-burdened. There is no better, more effective way to stay healthy and avoid illness and disease than to do what is necessary to take care of the bowels. On our road to health, it is most important to get the bowels back into proper functioning condition. Without this prerequisite, all other therapies, treatments, vitamins, or other aids fall short of their potential benefit. The sewer system must work properly, otherwise the body remains soaking in its own putrid waste, which encourages disease processes and eluding vitality-producing and health-building forces. So all congestion and toxins must be removed, and it must begin with cleansing of the bowel. Here are the symptoms of a blocked or coated colon. Those symptoms include constipation, which is diarrhea, stinky gas, pain in the joints, frequent illness, frequently susceptible to colds or flus, fatigue, tiredness, various diseases including cancer, arthritis, heartburn, headache, migraines, poor sleep, diabetes, and many others. One of the most frequent bowel problems that people experience today is constipation. A constipated system is one in which the transition time of toxic wastes is slow. The longer the transit time, the longer the toxic waste matter sits in our bowels, which allows them to putrefy, ferment, and possibly be reabsorbed. The longer your body is exposed to putrefying food in your intestines, the greater the risk of developing disease. Even with one bowel movement per day, you will still have at least 3 meals worth of waste matter putrefying in your colon at all times. Disease usually begins with a toxic bowel. Those having fewer bowel movements are harboring a potentially fertile breeding ground for serious diseases. Infrequent or poor quality bowel movements over an extended period of time may be and will be very hazardous to your health. Proper colon cleansing removes the mucoid plaque from the colon. Even a thin layer of mucoid plaque weakens the body.
Just 100 years ago, most of the food we ate was unprocessed and locally grown. But over the years, we've industrialized, pasteurized, sanitized, and processed our food supply, stripping our food of its best natural benefits. This change has had a dramatic effect on our bodies, especially our gastrointestinal tract, which is home to both good and bad bacteria that are constantly at work. In fact, approximately 10% of a person's body weight is bacteria. The good bacteria, probiotics, play an essential role in our digestive, metabolic, and immune functions. They produce enzymes that break down food, regulate vitamin and nutrient uptake, and convert sugars into essential nutrients. Good bacteria are also the first line of defense for our immune system, blocking toxins, breaking down allergy-causing proteins, and crowding out harmful bacteria and yeast. In fact, 70 to 80% of our immune system resides in our gut. When you have enough of the good bacteria working hard, your digestive, metabolic, and immune functions chug along, and you feel your body is working to keep you healthy, digesting food, fighting infection, and keeping you with a bounce in your step. If you don't supply your body with enough good bacteria, the bad bacteria will take over, and you may suffer from a broad range of issues like diarrhea, constipation, gas, inflammation, food allergies, fatigue, and irritability. It's no wonder we're taking more pills, being sold more vitamins, and running for antacids after every rich meal. We've processed the good guys right out of our food. It's time we take care of ourselves and get healthier, not by treating our symptoms, but by adding back our friendly good bacteria.
Dr.
From there,
Gilbert,
they
I
climb up
read
the
an article
bronchial
the other
tube
day that
and are
talked about
swallowed back
parasites.
down into the gut.
And it said that the
In
United
the small
States,
bowel, they
of
molt
all
twice
the
and become adult
countries in the
female
world,
worms.
has a bigger
The
parasite
females
problem
thread
than
themselves
anywhere else.
in and out of the lining
Explain
of the
what
small
parasites
bowel,
are
causing
and why in the world
inflammation.
should the United States be the most guilty of the problem?
Isn't it interesting? Because being an industrialized nation, a very progressive nation, we would think that that's not the case. And people slough it off as to, oh, well, not in the United States. That's only in poor countries, or that's in third world developing countries. What happens is that, and they're not sure why, one of the things is that we have so much infiltration of people from other countries. So they're bringing some of their problems of lack of sanitation, for instance. They don't have clean water, so they have parasites. People aren't bringing them intentionally, but they're coming on their body. Mm-hmm. Some of them are airborne, whether it be through an airport and you're touching the handrails, you know, anything that you're touching in a public place. So we're cross-contaminating each other constantly. But the other thing is that we are not eating a high-fiber diet, and you and I have discussed this many times. So if we don't have the brushes that our Creator intended to be able to get this stuff out of our system.
The brushes being
the brush is the fiber.
The
fiber.
Okay.
So we have a diet now in the standard American diet, and the SAD diet, that is devoid of a lot of fiber and devoid of a lot of minerals and soil. We've talked about soil depletion in certain parts of the country. So when you combine all of that, people don't have any ammunition to be able to get those parasites out. And so even I have a quote here that according to Dr. Frank Nova, who is the chief of the Laboratory for Parasitic Diseases at the National Institutes of Health, he said in terms of numbers, there are more parasitic infections acquired in this country. Not necessarily that they originate here, but they're acquired here or brought to us here than in Africa. So in a lot of the countries that I refer to with the researchers that I work with, Eastern European countries, Asian countries, specifically I know Malaysia and Indonesia, they automatically train their patients when they're a physician or a healthcare practitioner to take a course for 2 weeks every 6 months for parasites, which is what I do. My birthday happens to be in June, so it's the middle of the year. I do 2 weeks in June and 2 weeks after the Christmas holiday, sometime in January. And so by doing that, you're being proactive rather than reactive.
I see.
But if you're not doing something on a continual basis to get rid of those parasites, eventually you start having anything from, for instance, psoriasis. 75% of the people that I deal with that have psoriasis, the problem is not allergies because they're just allergies, it's because they have parasites, especially when they start getting big nodules on their knuckles. And the minute that we give them a parasite cleanse and start cleaning out their GI tract and supporting their body with good antioxidants, guess what? The psoriasis is gone. So it's basically most of them, not everyone, but most of them are a cause of a parasitic infection. And the other thing, too, that's important to think about is, we've talked so much about organic food and staying away from the pesticides and the toxic fertilizers, etc. But think about it. If you eat mostly organic food, nothing's been put on that food to kill any little microorganisms.
Very quickly.
So if you're eating organic food, you better wash it real well and make sure that you use some kind of a peroxide vegetable wash so that you can clean them real well, because you are having, you're in the perfect episode where you could end up with more parasites.
Do you think parasites are connected with a lot of the diseases we have today?
No.
I think it exists. I don't think it's a big problem.
Are you interested in knowing what parasites do to you?
Probably, I mean, yeah.
Probably not for me. I'll be honest, it doesn't really interest me. There's tons of people that have parasites and don't even know it.
It's a big, very big issue. At the beginning, I didn't believe that I had parasites.
People need to cleanse more often.
I did. I had parasites. That was nasty thing.
I was really shocked when I found out that this is something that affects every single living human, in fact every single living organism on the face of the earth.
I experienced parasites coming out of my body about 3, 4, 5 times.
You could be leading a healthy lifestyle, you could be jogging, eating raw food, taking vitamins and all those kind of things, but these guys don't care. These guys are persistent, they're dangerous, they're deadly. They've been around for millions of years. They know what they're doing, and they're inside of all of us, and we're constantly being exposed to this.
There's definitely a problem with it.
There's a war going on, and it's going on inside every one of us, and this is something that we all need to take very seriously.